As I said, my name's Gareth Kirk. I'm a senior project manager at the University of Wolverhampton. We've had Canvas for about 12 months-ish now, so we've been through an early adopter phase, and we are rolling it out full scale to around about 23,000 students from this September coming forward. So this is all about how, this talk is all about how we've managed that change, how we are managing that change, how we've engaged with people. And this is...
Yep, so those of you who have come to this session on the app will probably notice that I'm not Matthew Green. That is my spy name. No, so my name's Hannah Cooper. I'm the Engagement and Communications Officer specifically for Canvas. So I'm responsible for making sure everybody knows that Canvas is coming, Canvas is here, and what they need to know about Canvas.
So yeah, I'm Paul. I'm an educational developer. I work in the College of Learning and Teaching within the university. So my main focus is learning and teaching and the sort of pedagogical side. And I think I've been on the project sort of from day one, as it were. So we're going to sort of hit off with some sort of basic bits and pieces regarding the university. So as Gareth said, we've got 23,000 students. We've got roughly 2,500 members of staff. And we have 500 degree programs, and we've just put up our mission and our foundation and our ambition. Certainly for ourselves, the mission statement that was there is something that we sort of pride ourselves on. We wanted to use Canvas to focus on the students. We've had a VLE for many, many years, our own in-house one, which we'll cover later on, but we wanted to transition that and move that towards Canvas. We used to be leaders of technology. We used to be leaders of certainly learning technology within the West Midlands area and possibly within the UK. That's kind of gone a little bit over the years, but we're hoping to get that back. So for people that don't know where we are and where we're based, University of Wolverhampton, we're pretty much in the centre. We're in the West Midlands. We're surrounded by the Black Country, which was nicknamed for 19th century Industrial Revolution. The soot and the coal made the whole ground black, so that's why we call it the Black Country. We have 4 campuses, City Campus, Walsall, Telford and Burton, and we're roughly about 30 miles sort of radius from each campus as well. So when we've been delivering this project, we've sort of hit on to different areas and gone through.
So the VLE project, so LMS project, which is how we've got Canvas, is part of a bigger programme. So in 2015, the university established a digital campus programme, which is part of the university's investment plan. So they have an investment plan to invest £250 million, which is about $325 million by 2020. And that's to completely change the way that the university approaches its digital side. So there's a lot of investment in the physical location, and this is about enabling the technology to support that physical investment. You know, buildings can pop up all over the place, but if students then can't get access to what they need, then what's the point? So the Digital Campus is a transformational culture programme, so it is a change programme, and it's all about making sure that there's the culture change aspect, that the people side of it, and it's not just an IT programme, so it's about bringing the technology in to enhance the staff and student experience, rather than the technology being the driver of it. We've just done foundation phase, so 5 projects, one of which is Canvas. The others have kind of given people access to systems anywhere, any location, any time, data, and it's given students access to systems that they've not been able to access very easily before, putting a portal in place. So that's where we sit with the digital campus.
So why are we doing this? Why are we doing the VLE project? As Paul mentioned, we used to be back in the day, back in the 90s, at the forefront of learning and teaching using technology-enhanced learning within higher education around the UK. We felt we needed to get back there, and Canvas just shone out as the tool to enable us to be able to do that. We wanted to drive real culture change. The VLE underpins almost everything in our institution. It is a hub for all learning and teaching activity. So we wanted to actually enable change, the way people teach, the way students learn. We wanted to change the way that works. We wanted to support the vision of the digital campus, but equally with the VLE, as Hannah mentioned, the VLE project is one of the 5 foundation projects. But I think it's fair to say it's the biggest foundation project. It's one of the biggest projects the university has actually started out on. So I'll cover a little bit more in a second around where we've come from, but it's fair to say that it is that sort of scale. It touches on every single member of staff, every student in the university. It is almost forcing a change on them. So the way we've tried to badge this project, we didn't want to force it. We wanted to actually engage. We wanted to listen. We wanted to learn from the way we go about things. So I could probably talk for several hours on this slide where we've been from. I've been involved. We've got a in-house VLE called Wolf. It's been in place since about 1996. I was one of the original developers on Wolf, and so I'm kind of seeing the whole thing full life cycle. So I was there at its sort of birth, and now when we come and turn it off, it is incredibly deeply integrated. Not just technically, but into working practice. It's not really what people think of as a VLE nowadays. It's used for anything and everything. It supports our quality processes. It supports document management. It's used an awful lot for document storage, for uploading PowerPoints, all that sort of thing. So it also disparate working practices. There was no process that underpinned it. It just kind of evolved. It just happened over the years. There was no real sort of long-term vision for it. It just evolved. People made use of it for an awful lot of different purposes. It's worth saying, however, we have got some excellent pockets of use of Wolf, and we wanted to build on that. We wanted to take that further. We've got some excellent adoption rates. We don't really have the issue of use of the VLE. We have that. We wanted to improve the use of it rather than actually rather than forcing people to make use of it. We've had an awful lot of false starts over the years. I think in total, over the last sort of 7 or 8 years, we've had 3 VLE projects. The first 2 were driven by technology and driven by people in a room taking a decision that we would go down this route. And this is a route we would go. And that sort of, I think it's fair to say that went badly. Very badly. We ended up with sticker campaigns, poster campaigns, Save Wolf. It was a little bit, I wasn't involved in that project, thankfully, but it was very much a sort of, we love Wolf, we want it to stay. Why are you forcing this change onto us? So yeah, we had those stickers all over the place. I've still got a few in my drawer just for but anyway, so that's kind of where we've come from. So what are our objectives? As Hannah mentioned, the sort of the top one, the IT systems thing is almost the easy thing nowadays. It's very easy to get, for example, to get Canvas up and running. It's very easy to start to transfer from one place, one technology to another. That's not what we wanted to do. We really didn't. So, and sort of as you work down the iceberg, I'm hoping I'm going to get credit for this because this is my boss's slide. So, as you work down the sort of iceberg, it gets more and more difficult. So the business processes, the ownership and structure, the integration, and the really hard one, the people and culture. I think we've made some huge strides with this project. We've not cracked everything. We're not going to say we've cracked everything by any stretch of the imagination, but we have actually achieved an awful lot through the people and culture elements that we've actually done as part of this project. So this slide is kind of our interpretation that there's quite a common ingredients of change table. There's a lot of them about. These are our kind of, when we started out on the project, the key ingredients that we wanted to put in it. So a strong vision, the skilled staff, stakeholder engagement, plans, clear benefits and time. Without any one of those, you're going to struggle. You're not going to end up achieving your objectives, achieving your benefits over the long term. And with all of those, hopefully you'll end up with ingredients for a good cake. So our sort of the next few slides of our presentation is covered we tried to cover each element of these, how we actually, how we delivered on each one of these.
So the strong vision was kind of started off as it had to be about pedagogy first. It wasn't about the technology, it had to be about pedagogy. That's where, and it's pedagogy, not pedagogy or gigi or whatever it is, pedagogy. So we sort of set out on our journey within the College of Learning and Teaching that as part of this project, it has to be about pedagogy. And one of the things that we wanted to sort of instill was technology is just a tool, okay? Pedagogy should drive your learning and teaching. The academics should drive the learning and teaching. The technology should be there to support you. And one of the things that we did, or the two main areas that we did, was an early adopter program, which, as Gareth and Hannah said earlier, we've just come to the end of. As part of the early adopter program, we had 24 courses or programs, roughly about 140 modules across all 4 faculties that we have, and about 1,000 students. So at the time, it was one of the biggest early adopter programs that I believe Canvas had, and certainly one of the biggest early adopter programs within the UK. So it roughly equates to about 5% of our student population as part of the early adopter process. One thing that we did straight away as part of the early adopters, we got the academics in disciplines. We had something called VLE retreats. And what we did was we wanted to find out what is it they want to do? What kind of things do they want to do with their learning and teaching? How do they want to take it forward? We didn't even show Canvas. We didn't even mention it for at least the 2 hours of the session. But we found out what kind of things drove them. Very similar to the inspiration keynotes that we've had today and yesterday. What was their goals? And from that, they wrote a list. There were nursing students, there were teachers, they were engineers, they were mathematicians. How did they want to teach their course? And when we had that list, we would then do a customized demonstration and show them the things that Canvas could do to support them with their goals in where they wanted to be. And that went down really well. And from that, we then progressed into sort of delivering training for the rest of the university. And we called it Canvas for Learning. And this Canvas for Learning session was very similar to the VLE retreat that we previously did with the early adopters. But again, focusing on the pedagogy, focusing on their goals and their achievements that they want to get. And then reinforcing that with Canvas to say, yes, you can do video and audio. Yes, you can do marking assessments online and giving feedback. Now, as part of the early adopter process, it also fed into the project. So we would have communications with our early adopters, members of staff, and we would talk with them and work with them and progress what they wanted to do. It was all in a goal to change the culture of the university. We'd never done this before. And to be honest, in terms of speaking to every discipline, I don't think the university's ever done that. Sat them down, talk to them one-to-one, trying to find out what kind of things they wanted to do. And I think it's worked really well. The other element is the sort of staff development that was sort of my remit that I had sort of designed and built, and we focused on face-to-face and online. But what we want to do is deliver lots of sessions so staff could feel comfortable with. But we've looked at using the 3E framework, which is I'll come to a little bit later on. And that's it. Let me just refresh my mind of what the 3E stand for. I always forget. So that's enhance, extend, and empower. So it's these baby steps to get them to be enablers rather than getting someone else to do it for them. So that was our vision. We set out to do that, and we continue to do that right through to September now when the early adopter process has nearly come to an end, and we'll continue to do that throughout the years ahead.
Right, so in order to pull all of this off, you obviously need very skilled staff. So one of the things about the staff is this is a strange one because it's not just about having the skill to actually be a developer, be a tech person, be an engagement, be an e-learning developer. It's the attitudes and the attributes of those staff. So every single member of the team who's worked on this project has been really dedicated to the change. No one's gone in kind of with the attitude of, oh, you've put me on this project, I don't want to be here. Everyone's wanted this change and they've wanted to be on it. And those attitudes and attributes come across very strongly to the faculty and come across to the students as well. So the three of us have been on this project for a long time now. They're like my work family. So, you spend a lot of time with these people trying to develop something for other people, and it's trying to make sure that you all work together. It's the whole change starts at home. If you can't convince yourself and your team aren't passionate and don't think that it's going to succeed, how is anybody else going to think it's going to succeed? So it's working together to make sure that you have a common thing, that you're all working towards the same goals in order to put that message onto the staff and students and work with them to do that as well. Some opportunities that the projects have given is the upskilling of staff, obviously the training of staff. There's a lot of feedback from staff at the university they don't get many training opportunities. So with this, they can't say that there's been, 700 sessions put on to learn how to use Canvas, which equates to over 4,000 hours per member of staff. So, there's a lot of work that's gone into it, the College of Learning and Teaching, obviously pushing the pedagogy first message, and then the technical side also working along with that to support the needs of the staff and students using Canvas. So, stakeholders, going on to that. Stakeholders are very, very important people. You can't run a project without your stakeholders' involvement. That is how you end up with Save Wolf banners and badges and hats and placards. So needless to say, a lot of the false starts that we've had, we went in very, very differently with the approach to stakeholders on this. We wanted to be really inclusive, really transparent and really collaborative. So even from the very beginning in the procurement process, the requirements for the tender for the VLE started back in 2013. We went out for tender 2015. We had so much interest, we had a sandbox exercise as part of our tender. We actually ran out of seats. We couldn't fit all of the staff and students. So it was opened up to academic staff, support staff and students. And when we got down to our shortlisted 3, we were very honest about who they were so that the students and staff could have a look at them for themselves, get involved in the procurement. And that really shone through how engaged they were, that they wanted to be involved in it. So we've carried that on all the way through. We've kept them involved. There's the stakeholders, the senior side of stakeholders is really important as well. A lot of people think you have to go really high, go straight to the Vice-Chancellor, the Principal, the Deans. They've told us quite explicitly they aren't the people. We tried that at the beginning of the project. We tried to disseminate messages through. It didn't work. People who were in the middle were very, very, they've been missed out on the messages. So now we work very hands-on with people on the ground who need the messages, and everyone who's a high stakeholder, the exec teams, they get the strategic side of the project. They don't necessarily get, they get the stats, they don't get the you need to know how to find your course messages. We target all of the messages to make sure that they meet the need. And an approach that we've gone down is to make sure that we don't send messages for the sake of sending messages. It's a very common mistake that people make is, we haven't sent a message out in a month, so we need to send one, otherwise they'll forget we exist. If you do that, they'll delete you, they'll also forward you, they'll do whatever. If you send messages that they need to know at the time you're sending them, they're more likely to keep them and know to expect them. So that's an approach that we've gone down. Yep. So the plan, it's very important to have a plan, obviously. But plans change. Plans change very, very quickly. Plans change on things that are going on in the government, the environment, the economy, so the staff. This project has actually had 5 project managers before we got Gareth. So things can change quite quickly and people have different approaches. So we went down the route of tailored prints too. One of the things that made it possible to continue, even though we had so many staff changes and so many things, was a very clear governance. So people know where they go to get things approved. I don't know what it's like in the US, but to get things through in higher education takes about 7 committees. So we went down the route of management by exception. So if it's something within the scope of the project, it could just be done without needing to go down these routes. Only if it had an external knock-on effect on other projects in the university, it then gets escalated. So that's worked really well, and it's been able to get things through. Investment in resource is so important. As part of the Digital Campus programme, we actually set up a programme office, which consists of a programme coordinator, project coordinator, and graduate interns. The College of Learning and Teaching have recently just got 4 graduate interns in to help. If you don't invest in the resource in order to deliver the project, your plan won't succeed straight away. You'll be fighting against the time, your resource, and how you're going to get the message out. Transparency. Partners, obviously, we love Instructure and Canvas. Why are we here? So working really closely with your partners and the people, we didn't want this to be a customer supplier relationship. We want it to be very much a partnership, a strategic partnership, working together to develop the university's goals as well as Canvas's goals, so that we're all working towards the same sort of goal in the end. And that's really helped push this forward. Staff have access to the community. We have access to all the really skilled staff and the 24/7 support over at Canvas. So that's helped push our plans through. This was quite quick. So clear benefits. If you don't know your benefits, how is anybody else going to know your benefits? So it's really important to have clear benefits, make them relatable to who you're talking to. So for the students, it'll be very, very different to the staff. You want to make the staff's life easier. You want to make the students' education more navigatable, easy to do, more accessible. So there's different kind of benefits to it. Then you've got the language. Obviously, terminology is very different in Canvas to UK terminology, so that's one we had to get over. But the language that you use to make it obvious to them what they're going to get from it, rather than using project terminology. We started down the route of calling things migration. Straight away, it was like, what is migration? Are you moving my stuff? Are you deleting my stuff? So trying to get to know the language that people want to know. And then making sure that your benefits underpin everything that you do. So we're all working towards having Canvas fully implemented, being used to change cultures and change practices and highlight those best practices. And that's the message you want to get across. And you want to work with your stakeholders to find out what they want to get from it. There's no point dictating the benefits. You'll obviously have strategic benefits you want to get out of it, but you want to find out what they want to get out of Canvas and the changes of the VLE and learning and teaching in order to push through the benefits. This is just a picture of our timeline, just to show you where we've gone. We did this very quickly. So we signed a contract in May last year, and the early adopters were in by July. So the early adopters used Canvas. They had all their training, their things were copied over, and they were in teaching from August, September time. We've given everybody access from January in order to have a play around, giving them a sandpit area to called it a blank canvas because we're really original. So that's where they can have a play around, get to know the system. And when we get back after this conference next week is the start of our soft launch for the full rollout. So we're all hiding here and not looking at our emails. So that's kind of where we've gone. That's been our journey so far on the project.
So, yeah. What we wanted to do, there are obviously, you can put measurable benefits and database benefits in there, but as I think it was Josh that said, Instructure builds software for people. And that was one of the things that really shone through, and that's one of the things that underpins our project as well. So we have data on how adoption has gone and all that sort of stuff, but we equally wanted to go out to the early adopters and say, how has it gone? Just let's have a chat. So what we've done, well, Paul has mainly done, has pulled together just a quick 3-minute video of some of our stakeholders, just on their thoughts, just on how the process has gone, how well, what the benefits have had, what they've sort of felt have been.
Hi, my name's Paul, and in this video we want to speak to our wonderful colleagues about the benefits of using Canvas, how it will impact with their learning and teaching, and how the Canvas project is support them with the transition moving to Canvas. Let's go speak to our first colleague.
For me, what Canvas is going to do for the university is to provide an opportunity for everyone to reflect on their learning and teaching. We've had a system for a long time, and I think people have got very used to doing things in a certain way. I think what Canvas does is actually provide a prompt to actually think about what people are doing and why they're doing it. I think for me that one of the benefits of Canvas is the flexible way in which the materials can be structured, organised, and for students to navigate their way through all of those processes.
Past academic year, I've used Canvas supporting the legal practice course. It's a professional law programme within England and Wales, and We pride ourselves on teaching the students that they will be day one ready. That means that if they went into a law firm tomorrow, they would be able to be practicing solicitors. Canvas has really helped me as a student advisor to provide an extra level of support. So a prime example is our part-time students. They only come in on the evenings and Saturdays, which means that when they come in, not every part of the university is available to them. Canvas has enabled us to easily contact these students, have frequent discussions about how they're feeling on the programme, what they need from us in order to support them further, and also in regards to their assessments.
So the benefits of Canvas for me is really about us as academics being able to be really creative and innovative in the way that we now deliver our teaching methods. It almost brings a virtual learning environment within the classroom environment as well. And it allows the students to engage a lot more effectively, I feel, in terms of their learning styles, their learning needs. I was very, very privileged to be part of an early adopter course with the pre-registration adult nursing programme for Masters. What that enabled me to do was to get a feel of Canvas before the whole university goes across to Canvas. It allowed my confidence to be built. It allowed me to play around in terms of what apps we could bring in and embed, and really start from a blank canvas. It was an opportunity for us. It was a brand new course to have brand new literature, brand new materials embedded within a new course within Canvas.
So I just wanted to, on that Sally at the end there, the last lady who was speaking, she's been an absolute star on the early adopter programme, I think it's fair to say. One of the anecdotal things that really struck me, and I keep repeating everywhere I go, is that she didn't use PowerPoint for the first 5 weeks of teaching, which was absolutely groundbreaking for us. We were very PowerPoint heavy. She didn't touch the thing, she just used Canvas. Equally, her approach with her students was that she went in with it with her students as much more of a we're learning together approach. I want to learn from you as well as you learn from me. So the way that went with her students, the feedback that we've had from that group of students has been absolutely outstanding. Lessons, good and bad. As a project, we've been very transparent. We've tried to be incredibly transparent with everybody we speak to, whether it be good or bad. So we've covered an awful lot of the good things that have happened, our stakeholder engagement, the skilled staff, all that sort of stuff. The process that we've been through, the early adopters, and then going into full launch then, so we're able to feed those lessons into what we're doing. Hannah touched on on one of the points. We've had a bit of in the sort of project manager area, we've had turnover of staff as well. So that's been one of the big challenges to get over. How do we actually transition from one person to another moving forward? I've forgotten the last lesson that I was going to say. Thank you very much. I'm a project manager, and we don't do projects that well in the university. So one of the big things that we've had was actually also educating the university in how projects can be run. So we've sort of been feeling our way a bit with that as well, and that started from sort of top down. That's not just a project manager running a project, having a plan, having a Gantt chart. That includes the governance of it. We've changed the way we run projects, as Hannah mentioned. Potentially it could have gone to committees and all that sort of stuff. We had a project board, so that went incredibly well. The people on that project board understand their roles. It's not their day job. They come to that with a different hat on. We've got over that as well. Big sort of challenge that we've had is transition. How do we go from project into everyday support? That's what we're currently working on at the moment. That we don't see that as a line. This project is now ended. Over to you. Throw it over the fence. This is a process that will be going on over the next few months. The project team will still be involved in that process. We're bringing in the people that will be supporting it. We have members, as Paul will be moving forward on the operational side as well. We have the staff that will be supporting it. They're part of the project now. We've brought them in. We've brought them in now to start actually supporting Canvas, to start picking up on all the integrations that we've done, so they can actually then move back with it into operational use. And that's my lessons.
So where next? First off, I need a microphone. Sorry, need a microphone. So first off, this is my daughter Isabel. I thought I would include her in because she looks quite pensive. So where next? She was actually born 5 days after the whole university got access to Canvas. It's been a really busy year for me. And so where next? It's one of the reasons why I'm here at this conference, because I really want to be here, but I mean I can sleep. Don't tell the wife that. So where next? We want to certainly establish more process and culture and continue to the business improvement. As Gareth said, we're working on a lot of those things at the moment. So investigating and developing LTIs. I have to be honest, I've seen some wonderful things in the PALS area that I want to incorporate. I want to bring everything in. So sorry, Gareth, for that. We want to increase our better usage. So we want to work with our academics, again, doing those discipline discussions, having those people that feel that they can come to us and approach us and ask us the direction that they want to go in. We want to look at our minimum requirements. We have a couple requirements for launch for September, things like having a standard front page and structure within your modules and courses, but we wanted to evaluate them and keep them ongoing. We want to look at other uses of Canvas, and again, being here, looking at ARC and looking at Bridge and the new one, Gauge, how we can sort of develop those sort of tools and bring those into the university. We want to explore more dynamic content. We want to bring up the level of our learning and teaching within the university as well. We've still got a long way to go in terms of the transition, even though we're coming very close to August and September. We have a lot of courses, pretty much the whole university starting in September. So there's a lot of things that we still need to go back. Our emails are pinging every minute, every hour. But we want to continue to focus on the pedagogy, continue to find out what are the lessons, what kind of areas does our wonderful staff and our wonderful academics want to explore. And with that, we can then show them Canvas, we can show them ARC, we can show them Bridge, we can show them Panopto, or whatever it might be. We can incorporate those sort of areas in. As I mentioned, we're continuing to use the 3E framework. We want to move from a sort of a web supplement area to a sort of web dependent, and that's something that we're encouraging with our staff development program, which myself and Dr. Phil Greystock, who you saw on there, want to look at and sort of design and build. So we're sort of aiming for that. But again, it's focusing on the needs of the academics and the needs of the students. We are currently in the process of writing our lessons and our experiences from the digital campus and also from the Canvas project as a whole, and how we can communicate them out, make it very transparent that this is an open project, and we want to speak to more people about that. We want to deeply engage with the Canvas community, so that's one of my passions at the moment. I can't see that yet, thank you, cheers. To embed that, to continue community posts, and I've explored some wonderful stuff here and build relationships with the Canvas users. Case studies, papers, work with our academics to push those out. Maybe we might have some of our academics presenting here next year. Who knows, fingers crossed. The biggest thing that we have at the moment, which is probably sort of the monkey on our shoulder at the moment, is electronic management assessment, how we can do full EMA for academic year 2018. Canvas does an awful lot already, but we want to marry that with our policy and guidelines and processes within the university and how we can develop that further. And that's basically the end of our presentation. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and we're happy to answer any questions that are available. It's it's on my YouTube account. So yeah, I can forward it. I can forward it on. Yeah, that's fine. It's actually, yeah, sorry. It's also on our project website, which is wlv.ac.uk/canvas, and you can get access to that, and the videos in there as well. But I can come to talk to you in a moment. Okay, brilliant.
question for you. Could you understand a word we were saying? Right. That makes me feel
Excellent.
good.
Yeah, I've got a question. Throughout the presentation, we talked about project management, and we described it as project management all the way through. Obviously, there's that people side of it where we've been talking about change management. Did you sort of sit down and highlight some sort of change management plan, or was it something that just came with part of the project?
Mhm.
So the question was around change management. Did we plan how we were going to go about change management? As part of the digital campus, yes. So obviously the project fits into a much bigger picture of the digital campus programme. And so the programme actually did was sit down and say what its goals from that were and what they wanted to achieve. So even though it is bringing in things like a portal, a VLE, applications anywhere, better business intelligence and data, it's very IT heavy, but it was around the people side of it. So bringing down those barriers between different departments. We have a lot of departments who keep their things to themselves. That's my data. I do it that way. I don't want to share. And it's about, that was one of the biggest things to underpin it, is all of the projects, including this one, was to make sure that everybody worked together. And that's been really successful. So we now work, we've got members of faculty on our project team, we've got members of registry and admissions on our project team. We've worked really closely with finance to actually completely change the way that we can move money around through financial years to suit project need. So it's really evolved a lot of change within the university that isn't necessarily learning and teaching related, but has just come about quite ergonomically from the project being the way that it is.
The change in mind that stems from the early adopter program, that the faculties are working together.
Yeah, so we try to bring in all the early adopters. So the question was, the change of mind, does that come from the early adopters? In many ways, yes. So we would share the best practices between early adopters, and certainly from the lessons that we've learned and the direction that the early adopters want to go in and the uses of Canvas from them, we could then publicise that with going forward with the Canvas for Learning sessions, which were discipline-based for the rest of the university. So we did roughly about 44 sessions, about 2-hour sessions from January to May. We had a few people saying, you're not going to get everyone in the room, and you're not going to be able to do it. And we, myself and the rest of the college managed to do that. So quite proud of that. And it's meant that the College of Learning and Teaching has become more known within the university as a support mechanism for pedagogical development, both in research, in learning technology, and in everything really. And that sort of, we can push those practices out and bring those people together. And we truly believe it. We're trying to build those connections. So if someone in nursing like Sally Sturge is being a pioneer, let's get her in to speak to the mathematicians and showcase that work. Or let's get the Formula One racing team to speak to some other Canvas users as well. So we've been doing quite a lot. And that's our next step, is how we can build on that relationship and also trying to get that promoted a lot more.
I think one of the big things is, just to touch on that as well, is what we started out doing was holding events, saying Canvas is coming. This is what we didn't really get engagement. We didn't really get people coming in. So we actually truly engaged with faculties. We said we've got open door. We will invite us to your learning and teaching conference. Invite us to your senior management team. We'll come to you. Name the date. Name the time. We'll make somebody's there. We'll make sure somebody's there. And what that has that's done is that's brought them in a lot more. It's a lot more. It's given them the ownership of a lot of the processes around it, and that has been able to do that, as Paul said. It's brought in a bit of cross-faculty working as well. So there's still work to do there, yeah, but there is much more sharing of best practice into faculty now than there used to be. Okay.
I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.